Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. I'm your host, Paul Metza. I'm both delighted and honored to have two powerful, artistic, and socially conscious women in the studio today. Winona LaDuke is an American environmentalist, economist, and writer known for her work on tribal land claims and preservation, as well as sustainable development. In 1996 and 2000, she ran for vice president as the nominee of the Green Party of the United States on a ticket headed by Ralph Nader. In the 2016 presidential election, she became the first Native American woman to receive an electoral vote for vice president of the United States. She is also the executive director of Honor the Earth, a Native environmental advocacy organization that has played an active role in the Dakota Access Pipeline protests. Keri Pickett is a photographer, author, filmmaker, producer, director, and cancer survivor. I first became aware of her via her great photo book, Love in the 90s, Bibi and Joe, the story of a lifelong love, a granddaughter's portrait. They are joining me in the studio to talk about their film, First Daughter and the Black Snake, that recently appeared at the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Film Festival. And without any further ado, my guests, Winona LaDuke and Keri Pickett. Thanks so much for coming today. I'm honored to have you here. What was your degree?
I'm a rural development economist.
Okay.
So what I know the most about is, I'm interested in the question, which I think everybody is interested in at some levels, like what's your community going to look like 50 years from now, 100 years from now? Where's your food going to come from? Where's your water going to come from? Where's your energy going to come from? What are you going to feel like? What are you going to be thinking? What kind of economy are you going to have? So I work on that particularly for rural areas.
My mother was born in Black Duck and raised in Bemidji, so.
Well, that's a big town, Black Duck.
But when we used to go visit Grandpa and Grandma Paul, her maiden name was Paul, we went to Lake Itasca quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
So my own background between Lake Itasca, Lake Bemidji, Lake Vermilion, and Lake Superior, I'm a double Scorpio, so I'm a water sign. So I get it. I applaud you for doing the work that the rest of us would like to know how we can help. So how do we honor the earth? What's the website?
Yeah, www.honorearth.org.
Okay.
But you can look us up online, and obviously we're like in the midst of the battle on Line 3, which is really a Minnesota battle because, in the case of Line 3, which just to clarify for people, it gets kind of confusing, so many pipelines, so little time.
Right.
But 760,000 barrels a day of tar sands oil, dirtiest oil in the world. And they have a line right now that is, according to Enbridge's testimony, is in a state of deterioration.
Wow.
There's like so many leaks in it, pinhole leaks, the kind of thing that causes the Kalamazoo spill is Line 3.
Right.
And so what they want to do is abandon that line and build a whole new one in the same corridor as the Sandpiper. And, that's a whole new place, whole new corridor. It's beautiful. It's, not contaminated, not polluted, whether it's the Whitefish chain full of, like a lot of homes from people from Minneapolis or the Wild Rice Lakes of our territory. And Big Sandy, like one of our most significant historical sites where 400 of our people are buried right there on the shore. That's what they want to go through.
Right.
And so, what Enbridge is proposing to do.
Right through the graveyard.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And so my problem with this is that one is, I raised 6 kids. As far as I know, you don't get to make a new mess until you clean up your old mess.
Right.
But that's what they're about to try to let them do. And even here at the state legislature, they were going to pretty much try to give them a clean pass. I was like, who's going to be liable for that?
Right.
Who's going to be liable for that? Minnesota, you don't make them clean up their mess. They don't even know the level of the state of the extent of the problem.
Right.
I'm like, first we figure out what's going on.
Right.
You don't get to do something new until we figure that out.
Right.
And then if you're going to make your mess, why don't you clean up your own mess and put in the same route?
And then, and then the other fights that are going on is, of course, Twin Metals on the edge of the Boundary Waters, by, I can't pronounce the name, but it's the Chilean mine that has a history of incredibly bad environmental disasters. Also, the guy that owns it, Paulie Met, right north of my hometown of Virginia. And then, of course, the guy that owns the Chilean mine just so happens to be the landlord Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner. He owns the house that they're renting from in D.C. So that's a phone call away, you know, in my
Oh
in
my gosh.
memory. Yeah.
I mean, that's, you know, but so about 2 weeks ago, I was reading that El Salvador just banned mining. Did you see that?
No.
They put a national moratorium on any mining.
Wow.
And the reason they did that is because they're a country that their agricultural, their water is compromised already.
Right.
And they said, our water is worth more than your mining. And it's really, really an important note when the country that like is renowned for the death squads,
Right.
the assassination of Archbishop Romero and 6
Right.
Jesuit priests, bans mining entirely.
Right.
I'm like, wake up, Minnesota.
Right.
Someone just said that mining is not worth their water.
Right.
I'm like, so what y'all thinking here?
Right,
You know, I thought
exactly.
that was really a telling thing. And, you know, just to say on that, like, I refer to this, I mean, not just me, but this is an era of extreme extraction.
Right.
We're at the bottom of the barrel. We're at the bottom of the barrel and everything. Like, all the easy copper, like the copper that was, like, laying around the shore of Superior, that's gone, right? All the water that's, like, gushing out of wells in Oklahoma, that's pretty much gone, too. So what we're down to is, like, the dregs, busting up the bedrock of Mother Earth, putting in those chemicals for fracking, scraping up an entire ecosystem in northern Alberta
And
for
heating
tar
up the
sands,
soil.
and heating up the soil, baking it, or like some crazy, like the only thing that is worse in terms of energy use than copper mining is gold. And northern Minnesota, you know, for like a ton of ore, they got to have like 1 million tons of waste.
Right.
That's the bottom of the barrel, buddy.
Right.
Might as well just recycle your damn pennies. You know?
Well,
So-
and before I go get some Leonard Cohen records, run a warm bath, and get some razor blades, let's go to something just a bit lighter.
That's like super
No,
funny.
No, well, I'll tell you
But
what.
Hallelujah
Religious
was such a
movies.
good song.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. But one of the things I loved about First Daughter and the Black Snake was the personal side of Winona, because we know her as the great warrior and the great mind, and she's brilliant and gorgeous, and we all, certainly Minnesotans and all around the country and possibly around the world, know Winona, but we never get a chance to see the beautiful log cabin, the kids, the beautiful corn you're growing, your significant other. But I love the scene, I think it was around Thanksgiving, when your kids were busting you because you couldn't remember their birthdays.
Momo, Nisikwe, Junikas, Makwa, and Odea. I'm very grateful, Creator. Except this is Gway. You can have the best pieces there. Let you know how it goes, guys. Very soon.
When's my birthday?
The 28th.
Are you sure? Mm-hmm. Are you sure?
I am sure. I was
How
there.
sure?
Very sure.
Well, last time you thought my birthday was February.
You want to know when your
No.
birthday is? Okay. Ask me really quick. The birthdays of my children.
When's the birthday?
Ashley's is April 4th.
Nope.
Oh, shoot. Whipped it.
First one wrong.
So embarrassing. So embarrassing. And that oldest son of mine, Ajuak Kapashisit, he's actually in a movie premiere this week here, a short film called Shanab. He's an actor, but he is like sharp.
Yeah.
Like his father, he is sharp. He's like, Mom, you do not have this. I just want to let you know. I was like, I tried so hard. Like I was there for the birth of 3 of my children because they're biological. The other 3
Right.
came to me. And so like, I feel like I kind of get a pass, but he's like, no, Mom, you need to know our birthdays. You know, and, you know, but there's a lot of, as you see, there's a lot of activity around the house.
Right.
And
Well, a lot of humor in the house, too.
oh my gosh, you know, I mean, we are a pretty funny bunch. You know, I think that we're all pretty funny, and they think that I think I'm funnier than they think I am. But you know, it's all good. They are pretty sharp. They're a sharp bunch, and I, you know, so it's a good family, and I'm proud of them, and it's, you know, really interesting to watch each of them in their own development. And I was really proud that they were all in the film, because they're, you know, my life is, you know, some people call it like this isn't my career, this is my life.
Right.
And
right.
my kids have been in the middle of it, and because they're, you know, not only because it's the right thing to do, it's like, how do you teach someone to take care of their future?
Right.
Except for by showing them. Like, this is like, I'm like, you don't want to be reading about this, you want to be doing it.
Right, right. Well, I loved a couple of great quotes. John Trudell, who I had the pleasure of doing a gig with years ago, and
Great
sadly
man, great man.
missed.
Yeah.
Bombs Over Baghdad, prescient tune there when it came out. But he, there was two great quotes that stuck with me. One of his was, they said, "Well, why, John? Why aren't you tending the garden?" And he goes, "I'm trying to keep the beasts out of the garden."
Yep.
And then the other great quote, you got to tell us where it came from, when you said, if you're not at the table, you're probably on the menu."
Right. That is actually not a Trudell. That's a Bob Goff quote.
Yeah, well, that's why I knew.
Yeah,
that's
and that
what
was,
I wanted to
so
find
Bob
out.
Goff is one of my board members, and he has done a lot of work on renewable energy, and I was like, that's so true.
Yeah.
Because if you are not present, I mean, they will dice you up.
Right.
And, perhaps one of the best conversations, just to add another great quote
go
in
ahead.
there, is that this, I was up in Canada one time, and I was listening to this older chief talk about Clackwood Sound, and they've been logging up there, and so the Aboriginal community, the First Nation, was trying to stop it. And so the government came in and said, "We're going to have a consultation with you." I was like, that consultation word, it
Right.
makes it sound like super like, but I try to point out that that would imply consent.
Right, right.
But that's not what they're after. So what he said is, it's like talking to the Canadian government is a little bit like talking to a cannibal. You can make as much small talk as you want, but in the end, you know exactly what they're after. And I think about that because that's like the state of Minnesota.
Right.
And that's like Enbridge.
Right.
That's like the relationship that we have, which at some point we got to stop that relationship because it's super dysfunctional.
Right.
And like they got to quit eating us.
Right.
And pretending like that's okay. Like, we're going to feel a little better, or like, like withhold our, federal treaty agreed, education money or food money, hang it over our heads until we, compromise. This is 2017.
Right.
And we're not third-class citizens. We're first-class citizens. We want to be
Absolutely.
treated like that.
We will be back with Keri Pickett and Winona LaDuke after these messages.
I want you to meet Two Gingers Irish Whiskey. I'm Kieran and I'm Irish, so I tend to like a challenge. Why not? I wanted a whiskey to help find me out what's out there. Like what's really out there. And I found the oldest distillery in Ireland with a water wheel and awards for its small family of whiskies in the middle of Ireland. As I've always seen it, you can't win the lottery unless you buy a ticket. So try it. The investment is small and the flavor is big. Now, it's perfect for drinking neat. Its character holds up, like the Irish, when the bastards try to get you down. Two Gingers Irish Whiskey. Distilled twice for more character, time for more flavor, and less of the old burn. No lite bastardes carborundum. Don't let the bastards get you down.
You're back with the Wall of Power Radio Hour. My guests tonight, Keri Pickett and Winona LaDuke. Now, Keri, when the film was kind of coming together, and I know you were probably just starting to film stuff, when did you start to see, okay, I'm starting to get a handle on this and I know the direction I want to go on? Or did you ever?
Well,
maybe?
when you start a documentary film, you have no idea
Right.
what's going to happen, and that's why it's such a risk. I like to say that starting a documentary film is like buying a really expensive ticket somewhere unknown.
Right.
You don't know where you're going. You got to spend a lot of money, you got to commit a lot of time, but you have no idea where that train is going to let you
Or
off.
if you're going to get there.
Or if you're ever going to get there. And so I would say that would be the case for me. I have always known that I could do it, but you don't know how is it going to end. And obviously in this story there is no end. Mm-hmm. And so it's not about...
But round one is over.
Well, there is, and in fact, who would have known? But the Enbridge scrapped the Sandpiper on the day after I finished filming.
Wow.
And I had finished filming a scene that I knew was going to be in the credits. So I have 3 years of Winona's horse rides in the film, and it starts with her spiritual horse ride against the current of oil, and then it ends with that. And so
That was a beautiful moment for you, wasn't it?
there are so many aspects of the film that if I had not been filming constantly, if I did not have my camera out and filming, really, I have 800 hours of footage.
Wow.
So if I had not been filming constantly, I would have missed a lot of the important small moments that help tie and transition from one scene to another.
Right.
And for instance, just small things, a lot of very small things that add up to a lot of important things.
Well, and then you're filming, you've got 800 hours. Then you have to go back at least another 800 hours to watch what you have and then edit that. So I'm going to guess that's 2,400 hours right there.
Well, the editor, Daniel Geiger, started working in December of 2015, and we've just finished last month.
I know Geiger a little bit.
Yeah, so he edited for over a year.
Yeah.
And then, as if I didn't give him enough to work with,
Right.
I kept filming
Right.
the whole time.
See how you are.
Yeah, I just can't stop. And it,
Got a high bar. She's got a high bar here. But then, arguably, it's an action movie.
Right.
You know.
Well, there's almost part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. I mean, really, the fight.
Everybody's saying that.
I
Pickett,
know,
let's
you gotta-
go, let's go.
Paul, help me
We
get the
just
funding.
use a sugar mama or sugar daddy to help
Yeah.
run the
I
next
just
round.
need funding.
Well, let's. And how can people, Keri, get a hold of you?
I have a website, blacksnakefilm.com. I have a website, keripickett.com. And I have a Hennepin Avenue studio,
Right.
so I'm in the phone book.
You're a few doors down from the Terminal Bar, which I think is the most aptly named bar in America.
Yes, Phlegm.
Yes, may Flem, may he rest in peace.
Yes, may he rest in
now,
peace.
so it was been showing at the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Film Festival. You going to go around the country?
It's been entered into a number of film festivals, and so we'll see. But I already have a couple of distributors asking me.
Wonderful.
And so I'm in the process of working out an arrangement about distribution. And I'm personally am a huge fan of Netflix, and I love to see films in theaters, but I don't necessarily feel that that is, in our current climate, the be-all and end-all
Right.
for filmmakers the way it used to be. And so I'm interested in a lot of eyeballs. My first film, The Fabulous Ice Age, was translated into 10 international languages.
Wow.
And so, I don't know, wouldn't it be fabulous if that happened again here?
We will be back with Keri Pickett and Winona LaDuke after this break.
What can you do with so much space? The Solar Arts Building in Northeast Minneapolis. A masterpiece of exposed brick, wooden beams, hardwood floors, and natural light, this unique multi-use space is perfect for a variety of events. To literally top it off, there are over 100 solar panels on the roof, making the Solar Arts Building self-sustainable. You've got the need, we've got the space. The Solar Arts Building, 711 Northeast 15th Avenue in beautiful Northeast Minneapolis. Give them a call at 763-234-5069 or send a message to mike@solarartsbuilding.com.
What I know is what you know, which is that democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires a constant engagement of those of us who would like to have a civil society and a society which is healthy and is vital. You have to be at the table. You have to be action. You have to put your voice and your power to it. There's a saying which is that if you are not at the table, you are on the menu.
Welcome back to the Wall of Power Radio Hour with my guest, filmmaker Keri Pickett and environmental activist Winona LaDuke.
You heard me talk about how I don't like what Enbridge is trying to do. I got a better plan. I'm saying, like, we did some math and, say they're going to spend $4 billion on this pipeline in Minnesota. First of all, they have a $7 billion renewable energy portfolio. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, why don't you just give us $4 billion worth of renewables?
Right.
And if you, my little math class gives you about 323, 2 megawatt wind turbines and 64,000 solar photovoltaic panels for the houses of northern Minnesota. Like, to me, that's what the future looks like.
Right.
So I'm like, why are we messing around with some junk?
Right.
Where do we want to go? And then I laugh because the last round, the Minnesota politicians all talking about jobs. The Sandpiper was 23 jobs.
Right.
And then I'm like, let me do 23 jobs.
Right.
$4 billion, I could do a lot more than that.
Well, the Dakota pipeline's not going to be that much more.
Right. Ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like the whole, like, it's a bunch of really bad math and way too much Kool-Aid
Right.
being passed out by the oil companies, that politicians are lazy and they're thinking that that's the way. And I'm like, no, that is not the way. That is not the enlightened path. And that is going to cause us a lot of problems.
Right.
I remember talking to a councilman on my own reservation a few years ago about climate change, and same thing with some politicians, and I remember them kind of giving me this look like, well, that's not going to happen on my watch, is
Right.
it? And like that whole lack of like long-term thinking is not what we want in leadership.
Mm-hmm.
You want leaders that are going to look out for the long term of our territory.
Right.
Whether it's Anishinaabe territory or Minnesota. And so, to me, I'm really, we want to work for that. And, people, I've had a lot of privilege in my life, but, I was just this last week, I was with the Tadadaho, who is, the leader of the Six Nations Iroquois Confederacy, oldest democracy in North America. And, that's a long-term vision.
Mm-hmm. Right.
If you're people that have been around 1,000 years
Right.
with a democracy, Donald Trump doesn't have a single idea what he's doing.
Right. You know what? I have to ask you a political question, and it has to do with third parties. And you've been a Green Party with Ralph Nader, 96 and 2000.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
voted for you and Ralph. With this last election, my girlfriend's brother was a huge Jill Stein supporter. And I kept going text. I said, for me, it's about three things. 3 words: the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm. It's different circumstances at different times. Like, first of all, I'm not going to take responsibility for Al Gore.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Al Gore has his own problems, and I think Al Gore could have given it a little bit more of a go.
Right.
And the amount that the Democrats spent was on balloons was more than we spent our whole damn campaign.
Right.
So I'm like,
right.
win your own elections, buddy.
Right.
Don't blame me.
Okay.
Don't blame me. And
I'm not blaming you.
Right,
I'm just
I know,
asking.
but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
I look at that, and then this time, this time I drove from northern Canada. I drove 7 hours to vote for Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Did I support Hillary Clinton? No.
Right.
I was a Bernie supporter.
Right.
And I don't, it's just like before with the Greens. Like, one time they asked me to run against Paul Wellstone. I said, why would I do that?
Right.
If you've got a principled leader in whatever party, we're going to assume, in our case, probably either the Democrats or the Greens, we're going to support them.
Right.
What you need is visionary leaders, and Bernie was that man.
Yeah.
And I'm very vexed with the Democratic Party, and then, like, I'm very vexed, and, like, I have to ask this question because I got some, I know someone who did this. Why did white women vote for Trump?
Right.
What was that, ladies? I mean,
Right.
let me know on that one.
Tell us about, I've spent some time over the years actually doing some fun gigs on Madeline Island.
Oh my gosh, you're going to ask me about the island? How fun is that?
Yeah, so tell us about Madeline Island and the importance in Indian history of that
So
island.
it's kind of like our Mecca.
Right.
We're instructed to go to Madeline Island, and that's the capital of the Ojibwe. And we're driven off, and in 1842, tragedy of Sandy Lake, and our people ended up, on these reservations, particularly around Mille Lacs, but they moved the treaty annuity from Madeline Island to Sandy Lake in November, and so people perished. They starved to death. It was deceitful. It was wrong what they did to our people. And so left on that island is 200 acres in the north of tribal land belonging to the Bad River, 17 homes held by non-Indians leased out at a pittance. The land leased out at a pittance by the BIA. And then I think there are 3 tribal members that own land on the island. 4, Louise Erdrich, myself, Marty Curry, and the Cadott family. And I just, so many years ago, I started going back to the island, and I found it a place that I could renew my spirit. And I found it a place that, a magical place. And I found that it is a place that I could write. And I felt, like I could feel it spiritually. I could feel like my ancestors liked it when I was there. So, if you've been to the island,
Yes, I have.
You know that it is a magical place for anyone who can listen to it.
Right.
If you're not present, hear what's happening there. But so I've gone there, many, many years. And you know, I'm hoping to build my little modest, you know, my little modest house up there this year. I'm going to start foundation. I had a we call it the timeshare wigwam for a number of years up there on the island. And you know, I was first brought there by Walt Brissett, who was a great leader of the Bad River Ojibwe, and not the Bad River, excuse me, the Red Cliff Ojibwe, great political leader who was also a Green, was a founding member of the Greens along with myself. And he introduced me to Tommy Nelson. And so Tommy Nelson, Tommy's burned down. Yeah, Tommy's burned down was my first home on the island and remains my home.
Wonderful.
So all of my children and grandchildren have been raised bellying up to the bar. And every year we have a birthday party for me. This year we're having an early birthday party. And that'll be the 14th of July with NACO from Medicine for the People, Benefit for Honor the Earth.
That's a beautiful date because that is also Woody Guthrie's birthday.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. I'll come up and play Woody Guthrie tune for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a nice event, but I'm grateful. I go to the island, and you know, a lot of our best political decisions continue to be made at the island. We meet there.
There's going to be a screening of the film on July 6th
Cool.
on Madeline.
Yeah.
Outdoors?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
What about Winona for Governor 2018?
She
could
keeps
get
getting
lucky.
asked. She was
I keep getting asked.
She was asked about presidential.
I don't want to go. I don't want to go to D.C. You know, that's too far away. I like my state. So, you know, I think about it.
You could
But
stay in St. Paul and still get up to White Earth on
yeah, I got
on weekends.
horses and farming, so, you know, we'll see how it goes. But, you know, I think I'm going to just try to do the right thing and illustrate where, you know, the best where we need to go. And that may, you know, I think that I would like the government to do the right thing in Minnesota. And I'm hoping that people turn out and that, you know, and that we see where we are going together.
Right.
You know, and, you know, so I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for that. And you know, but I'm a woman that actually I like to you know, stop and pet the horses.
Yeah.
And I don't know that you get to do that at the governor's mansion.
Right.
You know, you know, that might be a little bit of an aberration of behavior. You know. So.
You can just bring the horses to the mansion.
Right. We have the horse park and outside. I just bought a team of ponies.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And this is like, you know, these are going to be some working ponies. I'm going to farm with the ponies. I'm serious. I'm not backing down.
Well, and once again, the website for the film, Keri.
Blacksnakefilm.com.
And then www.honorearth.
HonorEarth.org.
I want to thank Keri Pickett and Winona LaDuke. This has been not only fun and informative, but very inspiring. Thank you very much. I feel like a piker next to two complete happening ladies like yourself that are getting it done every day. My God.
Thanks for having us. It was really fun. It was really fun.